Alright, so you graduated college, or maybe you just moved to a new city for work, or maybe you've been in the same place for years, but you look around and realize you don't really have friends anymore. And it's weird, right? Because making friends used to be automatic. You'd show up to class, sit next to someone, maybe grab food after, and boom, you had a friend. Or you'd join a club, or live in a dorm, or play on a team, and friendships just kind of happened without you having to think about it. But now it feels impossible. Everyone's busy. Everyone's tired. Everyone already has their people. And you're sitting there wondering if you're the only one who feels like this, even though statistically you're definitely not. So let me tell you exactly how to fix this. Because I've been there, and I know how isolating it feels when you realize your social circle just evaporated and you have no idea how to build a new one. Here's the thing nobody tells you about adult friendships. They don't just happen anymore. In school, you had forced proximity. You were in the same building as hundreds of people your age, 5 days a week, doing the same things, stressing about the same exams. Friendships were a byproduct of just existing in that environment. But after college, that structure disappears. You go to work, you come home, you maybe see the same few coworkers, and that's it. There's no built-in social life. No one's organizing events for you. No one's inviting you to things because they don't know you exist. And if you're working remotely, it's even worse. You could go days without having a real conversation with anyone. So the first thing you need to accept is that making friends as an adult requires intention. You have to actively create the opportunities that used to just happen on their own. And I know that sounds exhausting, but once you understand how it works, it's actually not that bad. The biggest mistake people make when trying to make friends after college is thinking they need to meet someone and immediately become best friends. Like, you meet someone at a bar or a party, you have a good conversation, you exchange numbers, and then you text them once and they don't respond, and you think, well, that didn't work. But that's not how it works. Friendships aren't built in one interaction. They're built over repeated low-stakes encounters over time. That's the whole game. You need to see the same people regularly in a context where hanging out makes sense. Not once, not twice, regularly, because the first time you meet someone, you're strangers. The second time, you're acquaintances. The third time, you might actually have a real conversation, and by the fifth or sixth time, you're starting to feel like actual friends. But most people give up after the first or second interaction because it didn't feel magical, and that's where they lose. So how do you create those repeated interactions? The same way you did in college, except you have to build the structure yourself. You need to find activities or groups where you're showing up consistently and seeing the same people. And I'm not talking about going to a random bar and hoping you meet someone. I'm talking about joining something. A sports league, a climbing gym, a book club, a running group, a volunteer organization, a board game meetup, a language exchange, a pottery class. Literally anything where there's a schedule and you're expected to show up regularly. Because when you do that, you're not starting from zero every single time. You're building familiarity, and familiarity is the foundation of friendship. Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't have time for that. I work 40 hours a week. I'm tired. I just want to relax when I get home. And I get it. But here's the reality. If your current routine isn't producing friendships, then something has to change. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. And the good news is you don't need to overhaul your entire life. You just need to commit to one thing. One night a week. 2 hours. That's it. Pick something that sounds even remotely interesting and commit to going at least 4 times. Not once, 4 times. Because the first time you'll feel awkward and out of place. The second time you'll recognize a few faces. The third time you'll have a short conversation with someone. And by the 4th time, you'll start to feel like you belong there. That's when friendships start to form. And here's the key. You can't just show up and sit in the corner waiting for people to talk to you. You have to actually engage. And I don't mean you need to be the life of the party or the most outgoing person there. I just mean you need to talk to people like a normal human being. If you're at a running group, you ask someone how long they've been running. If you're at a board game night, you make a comment about the game. If you're volunteering, you ask someone what brought them there. Small talk. That's all it is. And yeah, small talk feels pointless and awkward, but it's how every friendship starts. You're not trying to have some deep, meaningful conversation in the first 5 minutes. You're just breaking the ice and seeing if there's a vibe. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. One thing I want to emphasize is that you need to talk to everyone, not just the people you think you'd be friends with. Because here's what happens. You show up to something and you immediately scan the room for people who look like you or seem cool or whatever, and you ignore everyone else. But that's a mistake, because sometimes the people you'd least expect to connect with end up being your best friends. And also, when you're friendly to everyone, you become known as a friendly person in that group, which makes it way easier to integrate. People notice if you're only talking to certain people and ignoring others. It comes off as cliquey or weird. But if you're just genuinely friendly to everyone, then you become part of the group naturally. Alright, so let's say you've been doing this for a few weeks. You're showing up to this thing regularly. You've had a few conversations with people. You're starting to recognize faces, and people are recognizing you. What's next? This is where a lot of people stall out. They become friendly acquaintances with people in the group, but it never progresses beyond that. They see each other at the activity, they chat for a few minutes, and then they go home. And that's fine if all you want is something to do once a week, but if you actually want friends, you need to take it outside of the structured activity. You need to suggest hanging out in a different context. And this is where people get nervous. They think it's weird to ask someone to hang out, or they're scared of rejection, or they don't want to come on too strong. But here's the thing. Most people want more friends, too. They're just as hesitant to make the first move as you are. So if you suggest grabbing food after the activity, or getting coffee on the weekend, or checking out something else you both mentioned being interested in, there's a really good chance they'll say yes. And even if they say no, it's not a big deal. You just keep being friendly at the regular thing and move on. But you have to actually ask, because if you wait for them to ask you, you might be waiting forever. And here's a pro tip. Group hangs are way less pressure than one-on-one hangs at the beginning. If you're at a running group, suggest that a few people grab drinks after. If you're at a book club, suggest going to a movie that's related to the book. Group settings make it feel less like you're asking someone on a date and more like you're just organizing something fun. And once you've hung out in a group a few times, it feels way more natural to suggest doing something one-on-one. That's how you go from acquaintances to actual friends. Let me talk about something that trips people up. A lot of people think they need to find someone who's exactly like them to be friends with. Someone who has the same job, same hobbies, same sense of humor, same everything. But that's not how it works. Some of the best friendships I've had have been with people who are completely different from me. What matters isn't that you're identical. What matters is that you enjoy spending time together and you make an effort to stay in touch. That's it. So don't write someone off just because they don't fit some ideal image of what a friend should be. Be open to different types of people. You might be surprised. Now let's talk about the other side of this. Maintaining friendships. Because making friends is one thing, but keeping them is another. And this is where a lot of adult friendships die. You meet someone, you hang out a few times, and then life gets busy and you stop reaching out and they stop reaching out and suddenly it's been 6 months and the friendship just fizzles out. And the reason this happens is because nobody takes responsibility for keeping it going. Everyone assumes the other person will text first, or everyone's waiting for the other person to suggest plans, and so nothing happens. So here's the rule. If you want to maintain a friendship, you need to be the one who reaches out. You need to be the one who suggests plans. And you need to do it regularly. I'm talking once every couple weeks at minimum. You don't need to hang out every single week, but you need to stay in touch. Send a text, make a plan, grab lunch, go to a movie, play video games online, whatever. Just maintain the connection. Because friendships are like plants. If you don't water them, they die. And I know it feels like you're always the one initiating, and that can be frustrating, but that's just how it is sometimes. Some people are bad at reaching out. It doesn't mean they don't value the friendship. It just means they're not good at initiating, so if you want the friendship to exist, you have to be okay with being the person who makes it happen. One more thing I want to address because it comes up a lot. A lot of people struggle to make friends after college because they're comparing every new person they meet to their college friends. And obviously no one's going to measure up, because those friendships had years to develop and they were formed during a time when you had way more free time and way less responsibility. But you can't hold new friendships to that standard. New friendships are going to feel different. They're going to be less intense, less frequent, or logistical, and that's okay. That's just what adult friendships look like. You're not going to have a best friend who you see every single day and talk to for hours. You're going to have friends you see once or twice a month and text occasionally, and that's still valuable. That's still worth having. Here's the other thing. Making friends after college takes time, like a lot of time. You're not going to meet someone and be best friends in a month. It's going to take 6 months, a year, maybe even longer before you feel like you have a solid group of friends. And that can feel discouraging, especially when you're lonely right now. but you have to stick with it. You have to keep showing up, keep putting in the effort, keep reaching out, even when it feels like it's not working. Because it is working. It's just slow, and that's normal. Let me give you some specific things you can do right now. 1. Find one activity or group in your area that meets regularly and commit to going at least 4 times. Look on Meetup, look on Facebook events, ask around at work, search for local sports leagues, whatever. Just pick one thing and commit. 2. When you're at that thing, talk to at least 3 people every time you go. It doesn't have to be a long conversation. Just introduce yourself, make small talk, be friendly. 3. After you've been going for a few weeks, suggest a group hang outside of the activity. Get food, get drinks, whatever. Just take it outside of the structured environment. 4. If you hit it off with someone, ask them to hang out one-on-one. Get coffee, check out a new restaurant, go to a concert, whatever you're both into. And 5. Once you've made a friend, reach out regularly to maintain it. Don't wait for them to text you. Be the one who initiates. That's it. That's the whole process. It's not complicated, but it does require effort and consistency. And I'm not going to lie to you, it's going to feel awkward at first. You're going to feel like you're trying too hard or bothering people or being weird. But you're not. You're just doing what everyone else is too scared to do, which is actually putting yourself out there and making an effort. And yeah, not everyone you meet is going to become a close friend. Most people won't. But that's fine. You're not trying to be friends with everyone. You're just trying to create enough opportunities that eventually you find a few people you actually connect with. And when you do, it's going to be worth all the awkwardness and effort it took to get there. So stop waiting for friendships to just happen. Stop hoping that someone's going to invite you into their group. Stop thinking that you're too old or too busy or too whatever to make new friends. You're not. You just need to actually try. Pick one thing this week. Sign up for it. Show up. Talk to people. And see what happens. Because I promise you, there are other people out there who are just as lonely as you are, who also want friends, who are also waiting for someone to make the first move. Be that person. That's how you make friends after college.